Hello everyone, this is Vixa. I'm back with a new video. I was thinking I'm going to start a small series where in each episode I present a less well-known, less talked about, less fashionable plant or something I just love very much and find really interesting. Today I'm here with an orchid species. This here is not the plant I'm going to talk about. This is simply a store-bought Phalaenopsis in a jar, which I'm going to use to illustrate some points. The most important of which is that orchids really aren't as finicky or hard as I imagined them to be. Before, I simply could not deal with orchids. Even the most basic, most simple store-bought Phalaenopsis would die on me, never mind reflowering or anything extra like that. But since I started to experiment with closed growing terrariums, they seem to be doing well, maybe not as spectacularly as they do for other more experienced orchid growers or what you would see in a botanical garden, but they are okay. This here has grown 2 new leaves since I jarred it this September. For the record, this is the end of April today. Also, this is kind of besides the point of today's video, but since it's already there, I'm going to show you anyway. It's basically starting to turn itself into a bonsai. It seems to be sensing the constraints, so the new leaves which are coming out are much smaller than the original ones, and this was a miniature Phalaenopsis to begin with. It's also bringing new roots, so I think it's doing okay. I'm telling you all of this because I want to make a point about how a terrarium doesn't need to be extremely complicated. This is literally just a large jar with an IKEA coaster for a lid. I keep an eye on it, and if it gets really dry, I slosh some water into it, but that happens maybe 2 months apart, so water it every 2 months or so, and that seems to be okay so far. But of course, as I've mentioned, I jarred it in September and today is April, so I've only had it throughout the winter. We'll see how it fares during the summer. Maybe it will need more water because then it isn't completely airtight. Anyway, moving on. What I really wanted to say again is that some soil, some moss, a little bit of humidity is a little bit of water to generate humidity is all you need for a terrarium. Right, this here is a slightly more complex version of the bottle terrarium I've just showed you, but the principles are largely the same. No need to be intimidated by any of it. Most of the bells and whistles, like the inbuilt fogger, is only here because I intend to keep dart frogs here eventually. But the plants themselves would be happy just by being sprayed down every now and then, as long as the humidity level remains more or less consistent. Right, here, let me show you a bit more of it. And now let's get to the actual point of this video. This little beauty here. You can't see much of it because it's so tiny. My camera can't really focus on it, but I'm going to insert some photos. This is an Erycina pusilla, a miniature epiphytic orchid from Central America, Mexico, Belize, Trinidad, this general area. Epiphytic means it lives on trees. It's not a parasite, so it doesn't take anything from the host. It just uses it for height to get closer to the sunlight. Besides being tiny, it's also relatively short-lived. According to Wikipedia, it completes its life cycle in about 17 months, which is sad, but also it means it's going to bloom for you in the very first growing season, like it does here right now. Come on, look at it. It's one of the cutest plants I've ever seen. In terms of availability, Erycina is something you have to Google and dig for a bit, but it's in no way impossible to get. I also have one, and I'm not that deeply in the orchid branch of the plant hobby, and if you know anything about the plant hobby, you know that orchid people and bonsai people and carnivorous plant people are kind of their own little subspecies. So in their world, this is kind of a basic little plant. For lay people like myself, it might take a little bit of digging, but it's neither that insanely expensive nor it is that hard to find. And as you can see, it's tiny, it doesn't take up virtually any space at all, and actually keeping it so far seems to be pretty easy as long as you keep it in an enclosed space so you can keep up the humidity. Well, that was all for today. See you next time with a different plant species. Bye!